You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Here we go, Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill back in North America. How was the trip, Rosie?
Yeah, boy. It was amazing. Yeah, I'd always wanted to go to Italy, hadn't been there. It was everything about it's unreal. The culture, the architecture, history, food, people, language. It's just awesome, man. So, no, it was great. A little bit. My most anxious part about it was making sure the Wi-Fi was good enough to do the shows around here. But after a little scrambling at one spot, it turned out all right. So I was glad I could stay up to date during it. But no, pretty cool for the family to be able to do that.
Tell you what, good time of year to travel because the Leafs no show in October. And I'll tell you, Zach Phillips was very, very fired up on yesterday's show. And everybody's got to breathe, okay? I just put out an article, put your calculators down, everything's fine. Nothing to see here. I don't know if you view this team any differently. I brought this stat to the attention yesterday. They were 4-3-0, I think, in the first 7 games of last season. They're 3-3-1 right now. But are you concerned, Rosie?
It's not ideal, but no, I'm not concerned. Like, my concern's like a 5 out of 10. Like, yeah, it's not ideal, and I wish they're playing better, and you always do, especially when you're covering it the way we do. But like we said this at the beginning of the summer, basically, that or whenever Marner got sent away, this team's going to be different. There's a lot of bodies. Not a lot of teams kind of go through that change. And it's, as Tree Living said, an identity change that takes time. And we said back then, everyone hold your horses. Don't be surprised if there's some growing pains. Nobody assume that the sky is falling if they don't come out to a hot start. And here they are at 500 and people are losing it. Like, come on, you guys. This takes time, to get the players playing together and having chemistry and even knowing what your lines are going to be. And is that kind of frustrating even for Berube to say vocally? Yes, I get it. But there's also this mentality on what it looks like, how it feels, what works, what doesn't. And that takes time. And traditionally, they're not a hot start team out of the gates anyways. So to be 500 right now, I mean, there's a lot of other teams. I was looking at the standings this morning and I'm thinking, if we were covering this team, that team, we would be lighting shit on fire. But we're sitting there 500, whatever. And everyone's like, oh, the only reason that the sky isn't falling is because the rest of the league is floundering too. Okay, well then chill out. Like, everyone's going through their growing pains and no one has really gone through this much of a transformation as the Leafs right now. Again, we said this at the beginning. Don't be surprised if they stutter out of the gates. They got a lot of stuff to get in line. So I'm not freaking out.
Yeah, you think on Lightning Morning Take, the sky's falling. They have 4 points. Kucherov missed the entire weekend due to the flu. Vasilevsky's played like ass. No, they don't care because they believe in their team. Folks, believe in your team. I think it's hilarious that the people slagging this team are the ones that were like, give it time, give it time. Dubas knows what he's doing. He's going to bring back Malgin for the 15th time and sign this guy. And Justin Hull is a savior. And now they don't want to give anybody time, right? We had the same conversation 5 or 6, 7 games in last year. Craig Berube's not the right coach. They can't do it with these players. I mean, it really is Groundhog Day, and I echo your sentiments. Outside of Montreal and Detroit, everybody else in this Atlantic Division, including the team that went to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals in Florida, have been off to like a so-so start. Like, the Panthers have 8 points. The Leafs have 7 points. Boston had a hot start. They've dropped a bunch in a row now. Ottawa's floundering without Brady Tkachuk. I mean, that is the fortunate part of this whole thing. But it's not like the Leafs are 15 points back,
Yeah, 100%. And we said, we'll trade some regular season success for a team that's better suited to play a 7-game series against those heavy teams that you have to face and have to beat deeper into the playoffs. And I still believe in that. I think that that's very possible. When I look at the roster, it's deep. I see some depth and I see potential. And no, they're not playing great right now. But again, it takes time to get your ducks in a row and your things in order. And it's not like they're going to vocalize that. It's not like they're going to say, hey, because that would just look bad. They're not happy with it. And the only way you get out of it and figure things out and figure out the formulas that work is to be unhappy about it and do everything you can to change and to get things on track. And I have no doubt they're doing that. again, it's not perfect. You would want them to come out of the gates and not lose a game, but it's just not realistic. And I understand why they have stutter steps and whatnot. And I think that, come talk to me in the new year and we'll see what things are looking like and how players are doing. And I think we'll see a lot more chemistry and a lot more things in order then, and a team that kind of is starting to figure out who they are and what works.
Our Super Chat charity partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure their question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. Tell you what, if we're having the same conversation in a week from now, I might have some more questions. The next 4 opponents, you got Buffalo twice, Calgary stinks, and then you're at Columbus, which is already a trap game. They always lose in Columbus, but I need at least 6 of 8 points here in the next 4 games, Rosie.
Yeah, I hear you. I was doing the same thing this morning, looking at the schedule and seeing what's coming down the pipe. And there's some gettable games. And I mean, in a week, if they find some things and gel a little bit, the power play clicks, some lineup configurations are starting to look like something that you could stick with long term, a lot of things could change, right? And one of the things about being in this market is the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows. And they tell you in pro hockey, don't get too high and don't get too low. And things are going good, just relax and stick to the process. Don't get too high. And when things are low, sky's not falling. Don't freak out. Stick to the process. But fans aren't really inclined to do that. They want everything right now, and I get that. But I think that you're right. This week coming up will be, like you say, if it goes poorly there, maybe some bells will start to go off a little bit. Again, I won't be, tearing things off the wall, but an opportunity, no doubt. And I think they know that. And if they're working to fix the problems that they have, I think there's an opportunity, like you say, 6 out of 8 points would be nice. And you'll take a step back and look at the standings or whatever and be like, oh, why was I freaking out last week? So a big week coming up for sure. But at the end of the day, they got to get the job done against NHL teams too. And you can't fall victim to those trap games like they have in the past. Not so much as years past, but we've seen it before, no doubt.
It's just October, but watching a lot of Montreal Canadiens games so far, that team is legit. Even on opening night, I mean, you can make the argument they were the better team against the Leafs. The Leafs found a way to get the job done, but they play with speed. They play with pace. They make plays. The goaltending has been good with Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš. He could be the #1 moving forward for that team right now. And I think of the teams we just talked about, I think that team concerns me the most, not just because they have 12 points and are in first in the Atlantic Division, but just the way they play. And then I watch the Leafs, very slow and methodical. Maybe that's more of a style and pace you want to play with in the playoffs. But just realizing early on, Montreal has got a lot of moxie right now, Rosie.
Yeah, they do. And I don't know when I started saying it, but look out for this Montreal team. They'll be nipping at your heels before long. And I think people just get kind of, resigned to the fact that, they're in a rebuild and, they're young players and they're not going to be, their young players are pretty good. And I like their coach. I think that Marty St. Louis is a hell of a smart player. Or a coach. You see that all the time when the way he's working with players. He's not just stand there with his skates half loose and just blowing the whistle and yelling at guys. He's right in there and really picking apart the details. And I think it's translated to them being ahead of schedule as far as their rebuild or whatever, but they're going to be a good team. And it only makes the Leafs situation feel like you need to start making hay while the sun shines, and you need to get your ducks in a row. I know I'm not saying right off the beginning of the season, but as each year passes, this isn't going to be forever where we have a chance to do something every year. You're going to go through some issues down the road. I don't want to talk about that, but there's going to be some times where this team is no longer capable of being this good, and you're going to lose some of your players or goalies or whatever it is. So it makes you think, big picture, you got to start to put it down and to start figuring your stuff out. But again, there's no real barometer of that until the playoffs come around. But you talk about their speed, and they were talking about the New Jersey Devils' speed, and that's great. We've been a team of speed before, but when things get heavy in game 5, 6, and 7, that kind of goes away, and you need to resort to your grit and your character and the style of play that you play that's going to translate to getting the goals and getting the wins in the playoffs. So hopefully they're on track for that. But so far we've seen what we've seen in the past, and this is a little different look right now, and they're going to take some time to get used to it. But, I still certainly have faith that this team, when you look at the depth of it, could be, a powerful team in the playoffs.
Meantime, hot off the presses, Chris Tanev placed on IR, which means I believe he'll miss at least the next 7 days. They've recalled Dakota Mermis and Phil Myers. You would have to assume is going to step into that lineup. I believe at practice, the optional, he was skating on a pairing with OEL. But yeah, it's unfortunate. It's the way Tanev plays, and this has been the story of his career. He's not going to play all 82 games. In fact, I think he was healthier than I expected last year in the regular season. He's a playoff type guy, but it's unfortunate he goes down here.
Yeah, big time. We just can't seem to get a full lineup going here with Laughton going down and Woll and now Tanev. It seems like every week there's a new piece plucked off, and it's tough to get, for a coach and for a team to, in the situation that they're in, where you want to try to figure out who's working well with who. Well, you never get to have a full lineup, and the guys that you think are going to play well together, they're just not available all the time. And that's hockey in the NHL. You're going to get banged up, and we have an aging blue line, so this is going to be a theme, I think. And like you say, the way Tanev plays, it's ripe for injury. But again, it's October. If he's out for this week or more, but all we know is this week, not a bad time to do it. It's October. We have a lighter schedule here with some bottom of the standings teams coming up. So not the end of the world. It's next man up, and the guys that are going to get a chance, like you say, are going to have to come in, and I hope they're chomping at the bit to make their impact and to show that they want to be in the lineup long term. So we'll see how those look. It's nice to get a right-hander in, so that OEL doesn't have to play on his offside. We've talked about that. I think that'll help settle him down a little bit. It's difficult, that position, taking passes on the wrong side and giving passes on the wrong side, and it's just a different look. And there's a reason left-handers play on the left hand and right-handers play on the right hand. You can protect the puck a little bit better. So hopefully that translates to him being a little bit more effective. And obviously a loss though with Tanev coming out. I keep waiting for this lineup to get healthy so we can really see what we have. But that's life in the NHL.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting the way Tanev plays. He literally puts his face in front of the puck, and it's like a innocuous, sort of play with Dawson Mercer, a little pop, and you would assume he's got something going on with the head, maybe a conky, something like that. They're never going to come out and say that, but out of all the things for Tanev to be banged up with, it's a weird play like that.
Yeah, I know. I was watching it. It was weird. I notice a theme nowadays where these weird bumps lead to longer term injuries and being pulled out of the lineup, where it just looks, like you say, innocuous. Like, what was that? I like you say, head perhaps, for sure, but it wasn't that violent. I mean, I remember the hits back in the day, the violent hits, and I realized that players used to play with their bell rung and play when they shouldn't have, and we've learned a lot about the heads. But it could also be a neck thing. You get those where you go in weird, and especially when you get older, man, you take the wrong pressure on the wrong side of your head, and your neck just kind of jars, and you can't move it. You can't turn your head. Maybe it's something like that. I actually hope it is more than that was just a little bump, right? So, but I'm not questioning his toughness or anything like that. Something got jarred, and hopefully it's just a week of maintenance and getting something loosened up. But look at that. That was just not violent. But again, not questioning his ability to play through things. I'm sure they're doing the right thing. But it's funny how these little jarring things, especially, I guess maybe it's age getting to them. And that's been the knock on the back end here of the Leafs. Like, they're not going to be able to perform to the highest level as they're in their 30s and whatnot. But, again, it's not a bad week for him to be out. And I hope it's nothing serious.
Long season, get right, get back in the lineup if you're Chris Tanev. We got Brian Boyle coming on in about 15 minutes time, former Maple Leaf, now does some great work with the NHL Network. Get his thoughts on not only the Maple Leafs, but the Atlantic Division moving forward. I think it's such a fascinating division because for years it's been like the pinnacle of divisions of the four in the NHL, but a lot of the teams we thought were legit have struggled out of the gates. We talked about it off the top. So Brian Boyle is coming up in about 15 minutes at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Every time the Leafs play at home, you can get these exclusive deals only on Uber Eats. Firehouse Subs, Bogo Brisket Hat-Trick, Kibo Sushi, Bogo California Roll, Shelby Shawarma, Bogo Traditional Wrap. That's right. Buy one, get one before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. So the media once again asked Craig Berube yesterday about Joseph Woll, and it's always concerning, but he said he's doing fine when he's back, he's back. And he reiterated that for a second question too. So there's still nothing on Woll, man.
I know, dude. It's if it were anything else, you would be up in arms going, this is bullshit. Like, do you know how many people care about this team and you're not? But it's a personal thing, so you got to respect the privacy as well. But I can't help but just spin my brain wondering, like, it's something, right? So what is it? And your brain just goes around and around going, is it this? Is it that? And, you know, online or live, I don't want to speculate, but everyone can do that themselves. Like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? Such a weird thing, such a Leafy thing for one of their top, you know, they got 2 1-in-1 goalies. I think Stolarz is the number 1, but he's a damn good number 2. And just gone inexplicably for, has it been 6 weeks or has it been longer? Like, what's another comparable to that where you don't know? And you kind of feel like you know the guy, and you interview him and you talk to him. He's like the most salt of the earth, down to earth, do things the right way type of guy. So your mind doesn't really want to go towards being off the rails in one way or the other. But again, I can't speculate as much as I want to. It's just such a Leafy thing that it's like, oh yeah, you're one of your 2 high-end goalies is just not going to be around for 2, 3, for how many months? I don't know. And no one's going to know anything about it. And there's going to be no reason why. Like, that's just, we saw it in the playoffs, not last year, but the year before. Like, was Nylander completely out and Matthews is out? And did Woll miss one too? And there's just no explanation. Season over. Like, God, that's Leafy, isn't it?
It is. And the one thing I would add, and Michael Kirkpatrick makes a good point here on YouTube, Primo makes me nervous for some reason, is what he inputs into the conversation. That is the big difference that I will give people who are saying the sky's falling and this team is struggling. They don't have the luxury of having Woll and Stolarz this year, right? They got Stolarz and then ... Primo, which we saw from the first game. I mean, he got the win, but he's going to let some goals in. And I don't know about you, this back-to-back with Buffalo Friday and Saturday scares the hell out of me. You got to win at least one of them. In a perfect world, you're grabbing both, but we know we're going to get Primo. Would you put him in the first game or the second game? Does it matter? Road, home? How would you deploy him?
I don't think it matters, man. You're going to be playing against the Sabres one of the games, and Stoley will be rested on Friday and Saturday. So honestly, I'd go to Stoley and say, which one do you want to play? Do you want to play the one on the road or the one at home? And go with whatever. He's your man. He's your number 1, whatever he's comfortable with, whatever you think that would be the best scenario to put him in. And then Primo is just going to play the other one. So, we talk about injuries and, missteps and stutter steps and them being not, perfect this season. I don't even want to say it just because of bad juju, but what would happen if Stoley went down? Like, now Hildeby and Primo are our goaltenders. Like, yikes. You want to talk about just holding on for dear life, trying to chip away any point you possibly can for that time. It would be brutal. And then you'd be starting to talk about how far behind the 8 ball can we get in the standings before blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden Christmas would creep up. Like, not ideal, but Stolarz has looked great. I have no reason aside that he has been injured in the past. But if you go through every team's 2 goalies, I don't know if ours have been down more than others. It's just the nature of the beast. Those guys it's so fast. They got to get side to side so quick. Just playing goalie in general is such an awkward thing. Like, to go down into the butterfly and then to do the splits, like your hips and your knees and your ankles, they're just ripe for, having something happen to them. So it's a tough one. And again, the reason why I think it's so wild that Woll is gone is how devastating it is to the team to not have your 1 and 2 guys, which I think they rely on heavily.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people in the chat saying you play Stolarz both games. That's not going to happen. Primo's going to get one of those games. I don't even know what I would do because I think you want your number 1 fresh with your number 1 roster, and maybe that's Friday on the road. It's going to be a banging barn in Buffalo, and then like we joked yesterday, it's pretty much a home game for the Maple Leafs. But bottom line, you got to find a way to get in a bit of a role here for the Maple Leafs. But I would be lying if I said it didn't concern me a bit that they got to go with Primo. Apologies for missing this yesterday, by the way, but Stolarz' post-game against the Devils, like, watching it's hilarious to me in retrospect. And I was at this game, and all I could take away was, like, this guy's doing some damage control with his teammates. I don't know if you caught this, but he's like, it was a really good effort by the boys. I love the effort tonight. Guys were battling, You look at the back check, the block shots, getting in lanes. I thought we did a lot of good things tonight. I don't know what game he was watching from. I was in the 200 level. It was not a great night for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I don't think it mattered how they played. His comments were going to be pretty positive overall after a bit of a firestorm that he started. He's just like, let me just clean up some of this damage I've created here regardless. So yeah, I don't think the comments fit the
Were you shocked that's the way they came out?
Yeah, it's a piss off, man. The Leafs, to me, and I guess character would probably sum it up the most. That's my biggest question with this team. And Austin and Willie, like, I don't want, now that Mitch is gone, for us to be like, oh, well, who can we just berate now? I don't want that to be the theme where we just are the team that runs players out of town. Because, Mitch was a really good player, but and some things he did personally pissed me off, but it was just like, hey, we've seen these guys all together and it's not the formula. They're too much of the same things. And when it came to, crunch time and time to, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just get shit done, they weren't able to do it. So to pay that guy $13 million, like, we all know the story. And now we're left with, Willie and Austin, and they have to be those leaders, right? With the character of, I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to set the example. And you thought that against New Jersey, they would be coming out the number one guns, looking like, I'm leading the charge here. I'm pissed off. I'm going to set a precedent here that this is how we do things. And you just don't see that, right? And I would like to see more confidence out of this team. I'd like to see more physicality, some more FU. I just don't ever see the confidence out of them unless they just scored and then they have a big confident woohoo selly. That's about the only time you see confidence out of them. Other than that, it's kind of these blank stares. And, you look at other teams and their leaders, and you look at Crosby or Nathan McKinnon. It's like those guys just leap off the page when it's time to respond to something. And I just don't see our guys doing that. So it was disappointing to see that after the firestorm and the shit that happened with Stoli and blah, blah, blah. You'd think that they would come out and be like, we are going to empty the tank in the first 5-7 minutes of this game and take control and say, boys, this is what it looks like. And you just don't often see that. I think that's my biggest gripe. And again, I think it comes down to character. And I think Chief is doing his best to try to instill that in him. But it's got to be frustrating when you just know there's more there. And it seems like they're just not willing to do it at times.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. And it sort of was like the perfect storm where I thought, like, there was no doubt in my mind, at least, the Maple Leafs are going to fight back and have a great effort. And granted, it was a good start, but like, you're playing Sheldon Keefe, you're coming off the comments, the city's galvanized by the Blue Jays. And like, that's what you do. Like, I don't know. It's a bad taste. It is the Maple Leafs. This is what you get in the month of October, but you're so right. Like, the compete level, we haven't even got to the Benoit fight yet. Like, I gave him props on yesterday's show. Who am I to chirp anybody who scraps in the NHL? But he got popped pretty good in that scrap with Hallinan. At least somebody showed a bit of fight. We saw a couple more scrums in that game. You'll love to see that too.
Yeah, like the Benoit scrapped. At what point in the game was that? It was quite late.
16 seconds left. Yeah.
Seriously, It was too late for it to affect anything, but it just kind of shows that character in that I'm not willing to lay down and die or to just, drag my ass off the ice with my tail between my legs. I love that stuff. I wish Benoit could have a little bit better footwork on his edges when he's scrapping. And I'll tell you, when the gloves come off, things get serious in a big hurry. And some guys just look like they're just panicking, basically. And Benoit is like that a little bit. If you watch his feet there, his balance is all over the place. And you got to be poised and balanced and really good on your edges. So when someone leans or throws or cocks back or whatever, you're not getting just tossed all over and ragdolled. And I think he needs to get a little better at that. And that one kind of popped him. He was ready to go down anyways. But I'm not for 1 second criticizing a guy that shows up and does that. It's one of the reasons I really like Benoit. I know he's not perfect. He's like the number 6D. That's great. Everyone has a 6D, but I love that he has a little bit of balls and character to stand up. And I wish there was more of that. Like, see how he's earlier in the scrap too. Yeah.
What does that feel like when you take that type of blow, man? Like, not great.
It's just, you don't really feel anything. It doesn't hurt. It's just like, damn it. And then there's nothing worse than the fight being over and you're down. And there's no chance to get it back. You have to live with that for days and days now. And I think, back when I was scrapping like 35 times in a season, you would get back on the horse as quick as possible to get rid of that feeling, because it's terrible being in front of that many people with your teammates and everyone's giving you like the courtesy whack on the pads, or the knock on the boards, and you're just like, I want that back so bad. It's terrible. But again, only guy willing to show up, so there's no one that's going to say a damn thing or even think anything in that room. I just wish that they, if you've reinvented your team to be a little bit more playoff heavy, you're the biggest team in the NHL, you got some guys with little, then why don't you showcase that a little while? Like, how on earth on game 5 or 6 is your star goaltender calling you out for just playing like chicken shits and just standing there and watching your goalie who got knocked out of the playoffs last year, who is your last line of defense with no Joseph Woll? How are you not like protecting that like the castle? Like, nobody better breathe on this guy or we're all going to snap. Like, it's a frustrating part of it. And again, the character of this team, I want them to identify or establish themselves as a team that doesn't take any shit, that initiates the physicality, initiates the intensity. Instead, they're on the complete opposite side of it. So I really hope that changes as the season progresses.
I know Zach was pissed yesterday. Nobody was banging their sticks on the Leafs bench after the Benoit fight. Is that an issue for you?
Really?
Yeah,
it is. It is.
It's the Leafs. Yeah.
But yeah. I don't want to torch them, but it's the character. Like, it's the confidence in the character, and they just don't seem to have a whole lot of it. People will point to this player and that player, or leadership or whatever. And when like a team's going through a rough patch, or there's something in the media or some hiccup or some reason for there to be a big response, the players in the league from nowadays to the past, what those guys come out and do, because it just leaps off the screen when you're watching. It leaps off the ice like, oh God, look at that guy go. Like, he's setting a precedent. He's like, what, even if it's Austin Matthews just forechecking, just running a guy and then starting to scrap and just being his head high and his arms up high, and everyone piles in F you, like, woo, here we go. All right, the boys don't like what happened last week. I love it. It's never that. It's always this stunned look on it. And I know it takes time to develop that, and I hope that Berube like recognizes that and is working on that. But I will say it's one of the frustrating things about this team, and it has been for a while, is that they don't really have a lot of bite to them.
Yeah, and it's funny, for all that conversation we had in the offseason about changing the identity, this team has no identity. They're lost. Like, I look at the addition of Craig Berube, I watch them play, and I'm like, where is that Craig Berube hockey? Granted, again, 7 games in, they do this every year in the month of October, where they sort of no-show, don't play their brand, their style. And I think it was expected, at least on my part, to be some turbulence, as you brought up earlier on. I mean, you lose a pretty big name, obviously. You bring in some new players. It's going to take some time to develop chemistry, but it's just more so that aspect. You got to drag everybody into the fight. And we've seen zero fight from this team, which last year, a bunch of you in the chat have made some great points. Like, I think half the team got in at least one fight last year. Nobody's even initiating anything. Like, they just showed up, and everybody knows the formula to beat a Sheldon Keefe team. They didn't take it to New Jersey. Like, it was a walk in the park. I couldn't believe that one goal from Jack Hughes, just skating circles. And so, like, that was a Mitch Marner special. That's what we're trying to get away from in this market. No?
Yeah, I know. It is frustrating. Like, you want to see everyone standing tall and being cocky almost, and having their chests puffed out, and you see Nick Waugh and Dakota Joshua and Max Domi and Bobby McMahon and the whole decor and everyone on the fourth line, and Scotty Laughton when he's back, just their nose in it, right? And having a bit of a swagger to them, or a bit of a chip on their shoulder. And they have like the opposite of that. They're flat. They're kind of always flat, and there's no intensity to them. And I really think you look at those huge games in the playoffs where everyone's so jacked up and they forced a game 6 or a 7 or whatever. And we're like, oh my God, like we just got to win one game. And you have to just throw the kitchen sink at them and give them everything. And they're just flat. And it's unbelievable. I do think that you look on paper, they have the personnel to be a team that does those things that I described. But again, I have yet to see it. And I don't know if you can force teams to do that or force players to play like that. But again, the personnel, I think it's there. The guys I mentioned can absolutely lead the way with that kind of stuff and help out on the fringes of the way the game is played, because it matters, man. The momentum that gets grabbed. You watch on the game, it's like, oh my God, Toronto, like, wake up. What was that period? It's because they have no momentum. And when you're confident, you have swag, and you're being physical, and you're coming to each other's aid, and everyone's in there on scrums and whatever. You might kill a roughing penalty. Who gives a shit? It leads to this sense of purpose and this sense of team first mentality where you're willing to link arms and go to war. And I haven't seen any of that. And again, it's October, I get it, but going back through the years, I think that's really been their problem. And they certainly have the skill to do it, but the skill just only gets you so far. It really does.
Yeah, I think the thing that pisses people off the most is like we see flashes of it where they can play that style. We saw it a lot last year. We've seen it at bits and pieces this year, but it's the consistency, which you can make that case for a lot of different teams throughout the NHL. As we bring in today's guest, former Maple Leaf, does some great work now with NHL Network, among other entities. It is Brian Boyle. Boiler, thank you so much for doing this. Maybe if you want to just get into the conversation too about Toronto's start, and just, it seems like it's always the same old conversation with this team. They look very lifeless against the Devils the other night.
I don't know. I don't know that it is the same old. It's different. It could be at home too. Maybe it's not necessarily the most energy we've seen, and they do play a lot of home games. I was just on with EJ Raddick earlier on his show, and he told me they have so many home games. Look, I said in the preseason, I like this team as it's constructed on paper more in February, March, April, May than I do in October, November, December. Always an exciting team offensively. And this might change their DNA a little bit. It takes a little bit of time. I think it takes time to sort of understand the whole process and how you want to play a game, how you want to play a season throughout. And I appreciate the fact, and I saw it last year, particularly with Austin Matthews, that they wanted to do it from game 1 through 82. So it wasn't a switch you want to flip in the playoffs. Now, there have been changes. Like you take away a superstar in Mitch Marner, who in games like these, or in times like these rather, in the season where it could potentially be stale, he has the ability to go and make a play and change a game in one shift. And understanding that you've taken that away from your team and you've tried to add something else, value doesn't really equal each other right now. But I think a Nick Watt, I think, even a Dakota Joshua, who probably would admit that it's not the greatest start for him so far. Those guys, their value will show up in the second half of the season and late in the season and after the trade deadline and then into the playoffs. I think those guys would help a lot, like Lawrence and McMahon. These guys are going to change that DNA. I think you have high character guys. I think you have, passion there. We saw it with Anthony Stolarz this past week, who called some players out. And then in a game where they lose to the Devils, it wasn't a good game. He stepped in front of the microphone. He got in front of the cameras and took the blame that I didn't think was necessarily his fault. They gave him a 4-on-1 goal to Brendan Dillon. Like 4-on-1s. I don't know how many times those are executed, because you don't even practice them because they're so rare. But he took what he thought he had to do. He went out and said, I have to make a save there. We're starting to find our game a little bit, and I let up a goal that I should have had. That stuff to me, I think, will help in the long run.
And so, as time progresses, and like you say, in the second half of the season, you'll start to see this stuff, come to fruition. Is all those little things like the missteps and the Jersey game and the Stoli calling guys out and them not really understanding yet, how to jump in for their goalie and play a little bit, for each other. Is that all a process that's happening here in the first half of the season, do you believe?
Yeah. And then hopefully that lesson can be learned quick, Jay, because it's a bad look. And the goalie coming out and saying it, is fine, because I had no problem with it, because listen, I hope whatever Joseph Woll is going through right now, he can tackle that. And there's, that's where his singular focus should be. And that's probably where it is. And that's great. And understand that he's not coming through the door and helping you next week. That's going to be a process that once he's cleared, hopefully everything's great. And then he gets to start sort of training, getting back into it. You're thin at that position. You need to protect that guy who's had injury trouble at all costs because he's giving you good minutes. He's a good goaltender. I think who's won? Like who has won the past few years? And not just Florida, but teams that have gone far. You do something like that, you're going to have to answer. And I saw in Buffalo, Rasmus Dahlin mixing it up and Tage Thompson coming in. And there's a bit of a melee behind the net. And it's not like nobody's going to get injured. No one's ripping somebody's head off, but they're standing there looking you in the eye and not taking any crap from anybody. And then Buffalo starts to win. It's not really a coincidence. The passion and the energy and being cohesive as a team. Like Jay, I hopped on and I heard you talk about killing off that roughing penalty. Yeah, those are the ones you kill off. And eventually teams back off a little bit. They don't want to. They've played 3 and 4, and they don't really just like, not tonight. I don't want to get involved in that. And then you can steamroll. You bring the energy. You bring your own team into the fight. See if the other team backs down, or if they stand nose to nose. And those are the memorable games too. Those are the games you talk about on the bus to the plane after. Who got face washed and who got called out, and that chirp was funny, and like knock that guy out next time. It's like that brings you together as a group. And unfortunately or fortunately, I get entertained by it. It's not going away. It might happen less, but it's not going away.
I agree. And I think in general, when you look at this Maple Leafs team, I think a quirky thing you brought up was the home slate in October. Like they're always playing at home, and you guys, I defer to you guys being former players. Do you sort of look at that as a negative aspect for a team that's made so much change? Like camaraderie is big on the road and chemistry and building team chem, no?
Yeah, I would. It doesn't help that the Jays are doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you get to those home games, it's like, yeah, hockey's fun and we're excited, but it's going to get more fun as the season goes on. Right now, the Jays, powder blue unis, those things are fresh. The road trips, early season road trips is when you have a lot of fun and you can kind of really get close. Because when you're a close team, you'd fight for anyone. You get guys come out of their comfort zone and do things that you don't see as often, but they're willing to do it because you've been through different things. You get to know guys more. You have new faces now. You want them to feel as much a part of it, like they've been there for a long time.
And as Craig Berube is, basically tasked with bringing a new identity to this team, what do you think are the kinds of things he can do to try to expedite that process and get these guys to play with a little more confidence, swagger, some intensity, and play together?
Well, it's, that's St. Louis group he had. They did a lot of things together after games, before, on road trips. That was a tight group from everything that I had heard. And the way they played was pretty direct hockey. So, in this season, with the condensed schedule, with the number of guys that will be playing international or in the Olympics, you want to get this right prior to the Olympics and get kind of munch some points and climb up in the Atlantic. You have to play direct, straight line hockey, and you have a number of guys that can do it. And I know Willie is going to do what Willie does. He's second in the league in points. He's already had, 2 headlines about him and a goalie calling him out. He's second in the league in points. He's just what he's going to do. He's going to do. You want that. You need that kind of guy. It's just like, I'm going to still contribute. You're not going to bug me. But they have to be direct. You can read off guys when you go direct. Like what does Florida do? Like it's a strong side, quick up every time. They're through the neutral zone. They dump it in. Carolina is the same thing. They just get it out. They dump it in and they go to work. And when you have injuries, when you switch up the lines a little bit, you can anticipate how everybody's going to play when you do that consistently. And then you're going to get on teams. And what do you do? Like, Jay, when you get hemmed in or you have to defend, especially in second periods, and you're getting hit and you're getting forechecked, like if you're getting, it's hard to get the puck out. That's when seams open up. That's when you sort of condense as a defensive group. That's when the Toronto Maple Leafs can start to move the puck around and then make their plays. But you got to say screw the plays and dump it in and get after it a little bit. Wear a team down in the second period, halfway through the second period, third period. You take over the game. It's the same thing. That's what Florida does every year. They do it in the playoffs every year. That's how they beat Boston when they were down 3-1. Paul Maurice has the famous, mic'd up clip on the bench saying, F the plays. You get up in the game, you think we can make plays, screw it. Hit their D. In game 7, they'll have nothing left. Like, that's just the mentality you can take a little bit of and put that in your DNA, because everyone can do it. Whether they've done it in the past or not, they can do it. It's just a matter of work.
And
I've been go ahead, Rosie.
Sorry, Nick, that's contagious too, right, Brian? Like, if everyone's doing it and you're the odd man out not doing it, that's, it's contagious. And people are on Craig Berube about, oh, what are you going to dump and chase the game like it's the 90s? But I think to your point, that creates the opportunities where you do it at over 60 minutes, then you're in the zone more, and those guys are on their heels, like you say, and then that's when the Willie Nylanders and the Matthews get their cookies, right? But I just think the problem is, especially in the playoffs, you can't create any opportunities because you can't get the puck, you can't set it up, you can't get in their zone because the dipsy doodle shit in the playoffs just goes away. Are you on board with that? Like, Craig Berube is creating an opportunity for them to use their talents down in their zone?
Yeah, it's like, what do you do on a power play when your breakout's not working? Like, you go into, you make an adjustment and you end up putting it deep. You win a couple battles. All right, now we can go to work. It's the same thing, 5-on-5. Getting it out, getting it through the neutral zone, and getting it into the offensive zone. If you can do that well, you're a playoff team every year. That's it. It's how it's always going to be. You just look at, I coach 10-year-olds, and I coach from I try to go from the top down. What can everybody do that the best teams in the NHL do? And then we sort of work like that. We're not taking away a 10-year-old's creativity. I'm not telling them to dump it in all the time. But if it's later in a game and we need offense, just put it in and go to work. If a team's in their own end, they can't score. And you can get on them, and they're going to make a mistake. If they make a mistake, you have a scoring chance. It's pretty simple to me. And the best teams have been able to do it, and they get to the playoffs and they get through the playoffs. I don't think there's anything wrong with dumping it in. If a D backs off, you dump in for a couple games in a row. A pre-scout of a coach on an opposing team's like, they're going to dump everything in. Weak side D, anticipate the dump. This team's good enough to pass it across the ice, and the guy's going to walk in. They're not robots. But you just need to establish. It's almost like football. You want to do field position first, get it down there, put the ball in their end, make them make plays. If they can't, you're going to be on the attack the whole game.
It's been a very fascinating start, I think, in general for this Atlantic Division. Montreal's off to a red-hot start. Yeah. Detroit as well, though they lose to Buffalo on Wednesday night. But this is a fun question that's being debated a lot in this market right now. You look at sort of the juggernaut teams, quote-unquote, of this division. Florida, Tampa, or Toronto, who's in the most trouble in your opinion right now?
Well, Tampa, they got one win, right? And they don't have the injury problems.
Yeah,
I'm worried about that team. It's kind of bizarre what's happening, and you can't expect just to get in, because I think Montreal is one of the most fun teams to watch, if not the most fun team to watch, and they got in. I thought they might take a step back. It doesn't look like they're going to. It remains to be seen. I mean, it's so early. And it's early for Tampa, too, with that winning. They still have a winning pedigree. They still have, superstar players down there. You get, Gensel's a superstar, probably underrated. Braden Point, Kucherov, and Hagel, like, these guys are international players now. I mean, Kucherov's not, because he's not allowed to, but like Vasilevsky, Hedman, like they're I think they'll be fine. But like, if Buffalo figures it out, I mean, Detroit looks real good. I only lost to Buffalo last night, but they look like Dylan Larkin looks like a different animal this year. Yeah. So, and the Metro's kind of weird too. It's kind of going all over the place in the East anyway. You just want to find your game again, because they're going to the Olympics and all your best players are leaving to go to the Olympics on whatever team you are. And if you're behind where you think you should be at that point, who knows what you're getting when they come back. They'll still be good players, but that's kind of a big crash that they're going to have to come down from after representing their country in Milan. They come back to their team. Yeah, you want to make the playoffs, but you're taking a lot out of these guys. So you want to be in the right spot before, that break happens in February.
Bottom line, you don't want to get caught like chasing the season. Like, for example, Calgary, you may laugh, but I think they're cooked. I think they're done already. So you don't want to be that team either, right? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're a different,
They couldn't score last year, and then they had this frenzy thing. I thought, honestly, they would, what they finished? 96 points last year? I thought they'd take a step just because I liked how they defended. Wolf's a great story. They got gritty veteran guys, but they're scratching their top 2 or 3 most dynamic offensive player for a couple games in a row, and Sharangovich. He just doesn't hit or defend or play with any sort of jam. And if you're a team that doesn't score goals, I wanted to bring this back to you. Jay, you said it's contagious, right? If you're the guy that's not hitting, you stick out, right? But I've been on teams where the things that I did well at the NHL level mattered because I was on playoff teams, good teams. And there was one season where, we weren't in the playoff mix in Jersey, my second year in Jersey. And how bad are you going to block a shot or really try to win a draw when you're down 3 or hit that D-man when you're down 3, for the 7th game in a row? Do those little things matter when you're chasing 3 goals every night, or where it's just or I'm the guy that's going to go and try and run a guy on the forecheck, and then the next guy just does a drive-by? What am I doing? Why am I doing that? So it's going to, if more than half the guys are doing it, everybody's going to get in line. If less than half the guys are doing it, no one's going to do it anymore. And you get Calgary, it's how hard are they going to dig in when it's they're down 2-0 after the first? It's we only score 1 goal a game, so we'll get them next time. They're in a tough spot right now. They need to start scoring.
Yeah, and the brutal thing with that is there's incentive to lose almost, and are we going to battle our asses off to finish 20th or 23rd in the league, or do we just let her go and get a chance? It's a very interesting thing. But no, to your point, that intensity and doing the right things, and when you're on the bench, it doesn't translate. It still translates to the television, I think, where it's woo, 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 shift after shift. And it's keep this thing going, boys. And you're oh, I'm up, fucking keep this thing going. But when they're flat and no one's doing it, it's just, you're just going uphill the whole time. And it's a brutal feeling. And I really think that these Leafs, like you mentioned, have all the firepower. And I think they've got, check the right boxes with the guys that can do that stuff. It's just a matter of putting it together and getting to that place where you can just ride wave after wave, shift after shift, and get that momentum going and end up playing in their zone where, oh, there's Willie, oh, there's Matthews to make the big play that wins the game off one of their mistakes. It's again, it's not rocket science. It just gets frustrating for the Leafs fans to watch kind of the same shit over and over again. But we got to remind people it's early and 7 games in. We can't be losing it here. It's October.
Well, yeah, and I think you don't even need these guys that all have career years for this to be a really good hockey team and then make plays when it matters. And so what's in the Metro, you get the Rangers, who are 0-4 at home and have scored 1 goal at home. I'm watching them, and I watched them pretty closely. I watched them close last year. They were 12-4 after 16 last year. Looked like a tire fire. I love their game right now. Their opening night at home wasn't great. Their last game against Minnesota wasn't great. But if I was Mike Sullivan, I'm this is all right. This is exactly how I want them to play. These pucks will eventually go in the net. There's, the fourth line's contributing and adding an element. And Mika looks like Mika again. He's skating well. And the goaltending's great. The defensive zone and their structure throughout all 3 zones has been so good that Igor, he's not going to have many difficult nights. If there's a breakdown, he's going to be there because he's so talented. That has longevity. That has staying power if that continues. Now, you got to keep the buy-in when no goals are going in the net. That's a hard thing. And I guess that's the challenge. But these guys are pros. They have tons of ability. I love what they have up front with Tavares and Matthews in terms of their character and what they're able to do. JT still, he's a cool story, but And they got young guys that are going to keep getting better. Like, what's the ceiling for Matthew Knies? Like, this guy, you get Cowan in there looking around and seeing sort of what makes these guys operate and how hard it really is for even these great players. That's not going to be a detriment to him. That's going to be beneficial to realize how hard he's got to work always to reach whatever potential he is. These are things you think about when it's, again, just this early. And a culture that's brought in from Berube. It's direct. It's no bullshit. It's straight lines. Screw your feelings. We're trying to win.
Back to back with Buffalo Friday, Saturday. Can't wait for this, boys. Boiler, thank you so much for your time today.
You got it. Thanks, fellas.
Appreciate it, man. Good to see you.
Anytime.
Too.
Brian Boyle doing some great work over at the NHL Network, covers the Rangers as well very closely. And I tend to agree. The Rangers are a team that remind me a lot of the Maple Leafs this time last year. Instilling in sort of a new system, new coach, a different type of players. And I think that team's going to be okay. But I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to the Maple Leafs. I know there's a lot of pushback as well, Rosie, in the chat where it's like, hey, it gets late early in this season and the Maple Leafs, something just seems funky and a bit off. And I get that, but I still tend to side with the fact the Maple Leafs are going to wake up here.
Yeah, and it's fun listening to him. Obviously, a smart dude and tons of knowledge and can see things for what they are, and a veteran guy who's like, listen, you guys, like, what kind of, who are the people that are losing their marbles after 6-7 games? Like, let's get serious here, right? This is a process, and he gets that. And it's funny because, what he's saying is the formula. It's not hard. Like, it might be kind of hard physically, like you got to work your bag off and you got to bang and crash and burn your legs up and have yourself sweating like crazy and your heart's pounding, and it's kind of difficult to get up for that, but it's not rocket science. Like, you don't have to be touched by the hand of God with talent, yet they do have a ton of talent. So if everyone buys into Berube's system and gets the formula right and says, looks at each other and goes, oh shit, that is what it looks like, and it just becomes contagious and everyone buys in. And that's what everyone's looking for this time of year. It's so much easier said than done, but it is refreshing to hear his take and saying, yeah, it's right there for the taking. It's just a matter of putting the pieces together and having everyone on the same page. And yeah, they haven't exactly found that from the drop of the puck opening night. But again, that's not the biggest problem in the world. There's nothing but time. And I think they have the right pieces in place, including the coach.
In support of Sick Kids, Tammy, thank you so much for the super chat. Leafs have so much work to do, and Berube making the mandatory practice into an optional practice is just asinine. Where's the discipline? Again, I'll defer to you. You've played in this league. It's been a very busy slate the first month for the Maple Leafs, Rosie.
Yeah, it's a little surprising, to be honest. I thought they'd go out there and be working on some things. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Like, you have a meeting and maybe like a team workout or something, and then a bunch of guys, you go in the training room, the coach is like, what is going on? There's not enough tables for all these guys, and everyone's kind of like banged up, but unbeknownst to the public, then things like that. Okay, well, let's just back off here and get everyone, let's get in the gym, get a spin, get a team stretch going. Let's get the, maybe you're playing ping pong in the room, or everyone's doing their rehab and then hitting the tubs and kind of getting a little bit of camaraderie going. And maybe the coach sees that and says, okay, we're going to stay off the ice unless you feel like you need to do it, and get these guys a chance to kind of focus off the ice. You can understand that too, but from the outside looking in, yeah, you'd think today would be a time where they would want to go out there and go for a twirl. But I think you got to keep in mind that there's things going on behind the scenes that we can't see.
It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION, NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. I'm going to look at Tampa. We just talked a lot about that team. Nikita Kucherov missed both games last weekend due to the flu. He's coming back. Bedard's in town for that game. I'm going to play Kucherov over 1.5. He's had a really, really slow start by his standards. So I'll play Kuch over 1.5 and a Lightning win in regulation.
Yeah, that's a wild line. Minus 315 for the team that has got one win this year. I think Vegas is betting that they're going to respond here. I'm going down the chart a little bit to similar situation. Montreal Canadiens, Edmonton Oilers, minus 230 for the Oilers, with Montreal being red hot. plus 190. I'm just taking the Montreal Canadiens on the money line. Edmonton Oilers, you never know what you're going to get. Obviously a very good team, but when they're bad, and that is some value right there to see if Montreal can get in there and take 2 points from them.
Yeah, I'm backing you. That was actually the first thing I did this morning was just take Montreal. Actually, I did it last night after their game. I've been really, really impressed with the Habs so far. It's going to be Montembeault in that game going against the Oilers. And a mixed bag for the Oilers. I don't know what that team is yet. They were up 2-0 the other day in Ottawa. They blew it. They won in OT. Jake Wallman's doing another dance. Like, I don't know what that deal is. But a lot of questions with that Oilers team. You find that value in a red-hot Habs team, I think you have to take it. So that's going to do it for today. Again, the big story on today's podcast, Chris Tanev, injured reserve. We mentioned earlier on Scott Laughton inching closer to return. In fact, I've seen him a couple times over the last week, had the boot on, then a couple days later, the boot is now off. We hear from Craig Berube yesterday that he could skate with practice with the team. I think he's resumed skating, but practice with the team in the very near future. So that's a welcome sight, but it just shows you the grind of an NHL season, right, Rosie? I mean, just when we think the Leafs are getting healthier, maybe we'll see their real roster. We're not going to get it anytime soon here.
I know, 7 games in, and there's just a plethora of storylines of guys left, right, and center going out, coming in. Part of the process, and sometimes when it rains, it pours. But that's the game right there. So it's nice to look on the positive, see Laughton come back. I really think that I think he looked really good throughout the beginning of the small portion of the season that he played. If he could get in there and kind of instill his will and kind of be the leader of the bottom 6, I think it could put a lot of things in place. So looking forward to seeing him get back into business. But again, Tanev going down doesn't sound like it's crazy difficult, kind of day-to-day, retroactively put him on IR going back some days, and you can't play for 7 days, but you can practice and travel and everything. Makes me think they're just, taking care of it the right way. And hopefully it turns out to just be that kind of day-to-day thing, and he's activated sooner than later.
Yeah, that's our understanding. So this is retroactive to the 21st. So he can't play for 7 days, which means at least 3 games. So maybe he returns in time for the 4th game and the final game of the month against Columbus next Wednesday on the road. Only time will tell on that front. But we'll call it for today. Tomorrow we're going to look at this twin bill, the back-to-back, the home and home with the Buffalo Sabres in less than 24 hours, and also look ahead to Game 1 of the World Series. Man, it's a good time to be a Toronto sports fan.
It is exciting stuff. I'll be here. We'll see you guys then.
Sounds good. Thank you to Brian Boyle for dropping by the show today at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.